Oh, I got a little gift for you guys.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's like when you can start your videos, right? Check it out, dude. Boom.
Dude,
Ooh.
holy
A
shit.
little mini slate. So that way you have your little start, right?
Actually, do it for you, yeah, because we're
back with another episode of the Never Summer Crew podcast. Oh, yeah. And today, Malik and I are sitting down with the head of Never Summer Crew's print shop, Chris Winchell.
Took me all weekend to work on that, so.
Take one. That's sick, dude.
This is all filled out, man. Pod for
the
production and CW.
Oh, yeah.
Take one, because this is one take, man.
One take. It's always take one.
Always take one.
Thanks for talking with us, Chris.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks for the invite, finally. It's been a minute.
We had to get things rolling before we brought on someone like you, someone of your stature.
Experience.
Yeah, dude. I've been here for, 15 years?
I'm going on my 15th year now. Yeah, it's been quite a while. I took a hiatus for a little bit. A couple, actually. Went to school for 6 months, and then there was a 6-month stint where I was working at a tire shop, just trying something different.
Okay.
You know,
How'd you like it?
Never Summer was like a magnet. Brought me back both times. The tire gig? Yeah, dude. You know, it was honestly, I really liked it, man. It was good. I'm not scared of like physical labor or anything like that, and it was pretty intense, like, you know, busting tires through the summer and stuff like that. Winter was probably the worst, but I don't know if I'd still be doing it if I would have stayed. I know the managers there were a different breed of people. They were definitely like, I pride myself on getting along with a lot of people and being able to like talk to people, you know, and, you know, may not necessarily be friends with everybody, but it can be pretty cordial.
Yeah.
But some of those managers there, man, were just like, couldn't do it, man. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Not in a good way though. Like literally, dude, they were just so focused on, and I get it, you know, it's an intense job. It's an intense industry, and, you know, they're all about making money and stuff like that. But, you know, I just, you know, kind of transitioned out of that, man, with some people who I just didn't like, you know, couldn't get along with, you know, which is weird, but
makes sense.
yeah. But other than that, man, the job was cool. I thought it was cool.
Right on.
I liked it.
There's something, I don't know, did you get into snowboarding first, or did you start working at Never Summer first?
So, technically I started working at Never Summer before I really started snowboarding. I grew up skateboarding, so my mom was a travel nurse, so she'd get contracts all over the place. So we were never really in a place long enough for me to really pick up on it, you know, do it, learn it, you know, pay the money for all the stuff that you needed, you know, boots, board, binding, blah, blah, all that stuff. So skateboarding was a lot easier.
Yeah.
This is a lot more financially easier to get involved in that. So that's what I did, man. I never really got good at skating, but it was definitely something I loved to do. I did it all the time with some homies in here and there. And I always had like this back burner passion, I think, for snowboarding. I remember when I was in, I want to say it was like 6th grade, somewhere around there. We were doing a presentation in class. Like each kid had to pick a subject. We had to do like this whole poster board and this and that with like pictures of the subject that we chose. And I chose snowboarding, so I chopped up tons of Transworld snowboarding bags, all these ones, dude. And I don't remember how the presentation went. I was probably nervous as hell.
Yeah.
You know, like I used to have an immense fear of public speaking, but yeah, that changed in high school. But we'll get to that, I guess, maybe later. But just that's how I kind of transitioned into, well, not really transitioned, just really liked it, man. Just never had an opportunity much to do it when I was younger. And then when I moved to Colorado for about like the 10th time and started working here, we used to kind of collab a little bit with Echo Mountain out in Evergreen. And that was actually one of the first places I went snowboarding. I think the very first place I went was Beaver Creek.
Okay.
And it was on an old school, I want to say it was a 161 Legacy that I took. It was like my first demo.
It's a big board to start on.
Right. You know, yeah, it was, dude. It was a very big board. But I've since scaled down. I'm riding a 56 Shaper Twin now. But, you know, the profiles and all that have changed too. So I guess that's kind of like my start into snowboarding. So yeah, it started kind of when I started working for Never Summer. Really was able and had the ability to get into it.
Yeah.
A little bit easier than before. So
Get some free passes and free
free
boards.
passes, dude. And like everybody at the factory has always been super cool. They're like, hey man, if you need anything, let me know.
Oh yeah.
Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
borrowed some goods probably for a few trips to the hills, and then slowly but surely saved up some money and bought my own gear and stuff like that. So
Nice.
yeah.
So how did you first get connected with Never Summer then?
Oh man, dude. So Echo Mountain, right? So I was actually just looking for places around Colorado. I don't even remember why I was looking at ski resorts or places to go snowboarding, but I came across Echo Mountain, and I think I was actually probably looking for a job in the outdoor industry.
Okay.
I think just kind of seeing what was out there, and I do remember like working at one of the tire shops. There was this wakeboard. This guy would come in all the time. He had like this super balled out Cadillac SUV, and he had a big old die cut for a wakeboard company. And we were always wondering, like, I never worked up front, so I never really talked to the customer. I was always just in the back doing the work. But I was always wondering, I was like, man, is he the owner of that company? I've never really been into wakeboarding. So anyway, I think that's kind of what prompted me to kind of look, for jobs in the outdoor industry. And circling back, found out about Echo Mountain and just happened to I went down to the contact us spot, or I maybe find the location, like how some of the old websites would be like MapQuest. And, it was a long time ago. So if you don't know MapQuest, man, look it up.
I don't even think it exists anymore.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. I think it was at the stage where you didn't have to print the directions at this point. I think they went digital by this point. But Never Summer was the sponsor of the mountain, so I think them and Candy Grand might have been. I'm not really sure. So I was just looking up these companies, like, oh, where are these at? And then I was like, Never Summer's in Denver, sweet. Oh shoot, man, they're like 7-10 miles from where I live. Cool. Okay. So I thought about it for a few days, and I just kind of took a leap of faith, man. And I went down, put in an application, and I didn't receive a call for, God, I want to say a couple weeks, maybe a month. But I did, like how you're taught, right? Like your parents teach you, like if you apply for a job, call back a few days later, be inquisitive, and kind of be pushy a little bit. So that's what I did. I called a couple times. And I remember Tony Saskin, our international sales rep, answered the phone, I think both times. And he's, I can't remember what he said. Something like, maybe we're not hiring right now. I'm not really sure. I can't remember. But so I just kind of fell to the wayside. So just went back to busting tires. And out of the blue, I had just gotten back from my lunch break when I was working at the tire shop, and I got a phone call, and it went to voicemail. And on a slow time during the day, I dipped into the back room to check the voicemail, and it was the production manager at Never Summer, Memo. Yeah, Memo. He called me, man, and it was a little hard to understand him because he was, he talks pretty fast sometimes because he's Memo. Yeah. And he was basically, I remember basically just saying like, hey, I'm looking for a guy. I need to start, quick. Give me a call back. And it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock at this time. And I think it was just after 3, and I called him, and he ends his day at 3. Yeah. So he never called me back. And I was kind of bummed. I was like, man, damn, I missed that call, dude. Kind of like sort of felt like I maybe missed that opportunity, but I left him a voicemail. And he called me back pretty early the next morning. And I told him, I was like, well, hey, man, I got to give like a 2 weeks notice to my job that I'm currently at. And he's like, no. I can't wait that long. I can't wait that long. I need a guy now, like yesterday. And I was like, all right. And I was like, quick thinking. I was like, okay, cool, man. I'll see you tomorrow. What time you want me there? And he's like, 7. I was like, cool. See you tomorrow, 7 a.m. So that day I worked, did my thing at the tire shop, and I went up to the manager at the end of the day, and I was like, later, guys. I made up some bullshit lie. I was like, I'm moving back home with my parents or whatever. I think they were living in Arizona at the time. Okay. And I was like, I'm going to, just kind of made this quick decision to moved out to Arizona or whatever, man. I didn't really care, dude. The dudes were, like I said earlier, man, they were kind of buttholes. So,
right.
And I was pretty well over it at that point. So I just, just dipped out, came down here, and I think that's probably one of the biggest things I did on the leap of faith.
Yeah.
Like quit a job for another job that I wasn't even certain I was going to get.
Yeah. Start the next day.
Yeah. Just start the next day. So, I showed up. Dude, I didn't know what to expect. I had this dress shirt on, man. It was like this, just this one I got from the Goodwill at that time, dude. It's actually a nice one. It's Banana Republic. I think I still have it. But I know, right? Yeah. And just like, a pair of jeans or whatever it was, I had no idea what to expect. So I get down here and there's this other kid sitting so at the older factory, it was a smaller office area and there was like a couple couches in the front. And, there was a couple couches in the front and like just kind of chill, people would come in for tours, whatever. You'd have catalogs on the table. And it was really just kind of real mellow. Kind of like a beat up old living room type of thing. There was another kid sitting across and he started talking and he was just like, I had no idea who he was. I'm a pretty social person, but I guess I was a little nervous or whatever, man. I was like, this kid won't shut up. This kid won't. And come to find out he had started the day before. So he was back for his second day of orientation or whatever you want to call it. And, so anyway, memo comes through and, he takes us in the back and he's like, do you want to wear that shirt? And I was like, it's a weird question. So I soon found out why he asked me. And it was because he took me back to the layup area. So like the actual board building production area, right? With all the glue, the fiberglass and stuff like that. And it quickly was like, yeah, if you got a shirt, man, I'll happily take a shirt. So he gave me just like this, this t-shirt that he had chilling around and threw me an apron or whatever, man. And that was it, man. Like, pun intended, it just stuck, the glue stuck to my legs, arms, hands, everywhere, dude, and I just kind of stuck around after that. And, they've been kind of hard pressed to get rid of me. Yeah. For the last while. So.
Who was that other kid that started the day before you? Is he?
Oh yeah, Adam Baker. Around? Yeah, no, he's not here anymore, man. Adam Baker. He toughed it out here for quite a while too, man. I want to say he was probably here. I want to say 10 or 12 years, something like that, man.
I heard the name before, actually.
Yeah, he used to work in the finishing department. Scraping boards and getting them ready and sending them up to the finishing. He ran the wood shop at the older factory for quite some time too. He was in there. Funny story. That's how he met his wife. So they were doing a tour. Yeah, they were doing a tour. This organization called Snowboard Colorado, I believe it was. And it kind of started like a local Facebook sort of group. Like people would get on this website and they'd be like, hey, I'm going up to Copper. I'm going up to whatever mountain. Does anybody need a ride or is anybody going that I can snag a ride with? Yeah. And they kind of gained this big giant following and, they came through, like they got their whole like group to come through on a tour at Never Summer. And Adam was like, dude, that chick was so hot. He just started talking to her, dude. And now they're married. They own a house. Yeah, they've got, his daughter's like 7, 8, or 9, something like that, dude. Wow. So yeah, it worked out really well for him, man. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was Jared, because I know you guys started pretty close together.
Sort of, kind of, yeah, dude. So Jared started as an intern. I don't remember what year. It was the year before I started, I think. I started in like July or something like that. So maybe it was the beginning of that year. It was 2000. Gosh, I always forget. 2008 maybe. And Jared started as an intern. And then he interned for a few months. And then he went into the factory because he got a job with them after his internship was over. And then I started shortly thereafter. I think he was only on the layup because he started in the layup too, the board building process. And he was there for like a month before I started. And he was only there for a short time after because he had like an allergic reaction to the glue or something like that. So he went off and did some other gigs, but I ended up staying there.
Okay.
For a while.
Nice.
Yeah.
No. Actually, I was kind of curious though. When you were in layup, like what was the process for you guys? Was it different than today? Because I know like today, it's like, I don't know, we use fiberglass, and then we use a fiberglass sheet, and then our...
There goes the camera.
There goes the camera.
Right, here it is, right here.
Set it up.
Yeah, no, the process, man, is pretty much the same. I think one of the biggest things that changed is just the amount of like fiberglass and carbon fiber and stuff goes
Like black.
into.
That screen's a little weird, but it's all good. The front screen looks good. Yeah. That back
We're
screen's
good up
just so
front.
weird. Yeah.
Good on the front end. To answer your question though, the layup process is pretty much the same. The only thing that I think is really changed is just with like the new technology, like, you know, implementing more carbon fiber into the snowboards. I don't know if I should have said that. You can maybe scratch that out post production.
Okay.
But some of the like the fiberglass weights and stuff like that we've used have been consistent at least since I started.
Oh, cool.
So nothing really changed in the process. As far as like the layup, that goes.
Layup's the same.
I mean, we've definitely gotten better about maintaining like glue ratios and things like that, dude, to like lighten out the
That was
boards.
originally my job. It was
Yeah.
like every morning you'd have to do a giant list of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
everyone's board, what they need that day, and then like you would do your ratio,
Yeah.
make sure that's correct, and then every day it would be changing. So
Yeah.
for sure.
And you know, like it's I'm glad that became a very meticulous aspect of it, because going back on that 61 Legacy that I started riding, I mean, that thing was a plank.
Yeah.
Dude, like, I mean, it was built and made to be a solid board.
Right.
But dude, if you took that board today compared to any one of these boards that we build nowadays, man, like, you're looking at, I would say, at least a couple pounds, which, you know, to the average person, a couple pounds, right? It's not that big a deal, but yeah, in snowboarding, man, the snowboarding aspect, and you got all your other gear on, and you're strapped into that thing all day. You're carrying it up a lift all day. Like, you know, at the end of the day, man, it's pretty significant. So,
Yeah, definitely.
for sure.
So, okay, you've been here for 15 years and you said you left to work at a car shop and came back. So I'm wondering what's kept you here for so long and kept you like coming back. Like, why did you come back and why have you stayed here for so long?
It's a magnet, bro.
Yeah.
you
Can't
know,
get away from it.
you know, that's a cool question. I do like that question, man. That's probably my fault. So to go back, on that question, what has kept me here for so long is, man, the environment here is super mellow. Like I said, man, I started out, I was never afraid of like physical labor, like the physical labor and learning how to build something like that, like a snowboard, man, that's just like so universally awesome to everybody, right, who participates, and learning the construction and how to put that thing together, it was really fascinating, man. And I think that's kind of one thing that keeps me here, man, is just the fact that we do everything from beginning to end. Like we don't we source everything in house, right? We bring everything into our factory, and this is where we do everything. We literally cut the wood down. We taper it, we sand it, we do this, we do everything from beginning to end. And I think that's a really cool process, like nothing is done outside of these walls here. Right. Like nobody else is taking care of any portion of our production or our build, and I just think that's really cool, I'm not super well versed in other production companies and how they do all their stuff. If they do half their stuff here, half of their stuff here, whatever, but just, I guess, like having it all in house and seeing it literally turn from raw material into, a snowboard that goes out to a shop, and that you can see, like, it's like a highly visible brand. We go to the snowboard shops, man, and there's not just like one Never Summer at a shop, unless they're like almost sold out. So kudos to that, right? But I mean, there's multiple boards, man, and it's just really cool to see like what it comes from to what it ends up being. Another thing is the people, man. Like there's still quite a few people, I'd say a couple handfuls of people that are working here that were here when I first started. Cool. Yeah, like Jared, he's the production manager now. Memo, obviously, he's still here. The guy who called me, right?
Memo's kept you here all these years.
Memo's kept me here all these years. Yeah, man, him and all those tacos that he gives me, man.
Yeah,
they're delicious, dude. I would say that's probably the biggest aspect, is just the people, the people in the office, man, the sales team, the marketing team, everybody who who pushes this product, you know, to make sure they get out on the sales floors and into the hands of all the consumers and stuff, man. Like everybody's just super cool, man. They're good at what they do. Yeah, everybody, you know, sometimes we turn into buttholes, but that's just the name of the game, right? But aside from that, man, like we all know each other, and I think we're all friends, whether we talk on a daily basis or walk by and just throw high fives or whatever, you know. It's like everybody, as far as I know, everybody's chill. I've never honestly seen anybody get into a fight, like a physical altercation, you know, like we all get mad, yell at each other, holler, or whatever, right? You know, that banter back and forth, but it's such a chill environment, man. Except for in the summer. It's when it gets hot.
Right now.
Dad joke. It's just super cool, man. Everybody's really chill. I really do appreciate the fact that like the people who actually run this business like show up almost on the daily.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've worked corporate jobs. Like I said, I've worked at the tire shops and things like that, man. And I think there's been one time I was working for Les Schwab Tires, and the actual owning family came in. It's when, what's that?
You only saw him once?
Yeah, dude, I got to meet him, and it was kind of a cool thing. Like, so we'll put it this way, man. Like in the snowboard industry, right? If you go to like say a film premiere or a product release premiere, whatever, right? And you see like pro snowboarders, you kind of get all giddy, right? You know, because it's just like, oh, dude, these guys are, you know, this is so and so. Like, oh my god, man, like he's a gangster. You know what I mean? And you kind of get, you know, kind of like those butterflies in your stomach. You get a little nervous. Like, what do I say to this person, right? You know, and it's just like, it's just another person. But what do you say? You get all scared. You get all nervous, right? Yeah. So it was completely opposite. When I met the people who owned the company Les Schwab, I had nothing to be nervous about because like I didn't know shit about the company really. You know what I mean? So it was just like meeting another few people. Like, oh, it's grand opening weekend. Here's some people that are affiliated with the company. All right, cool. You know, and then it was the after the fact is when I found out they were the owners, and my manager came to me and he's like, man, you talking to them like, you know, they were best friends. I was like, oh yeah, cool. Who were they? And he's like, oh, they were the owners. Like that's the owners, you know, like Les Schwab himself. That was his granddaughter or something like that. You know, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, like, it was kind of a weird thing. Like, was I supposed to be different? You know?
Yeah.
But thinking about it, right, like I just said, dude, you meet somebody like a pro rider or something like that. Dude, you'd be like, oh, dude, it's so and so. You know, it's Travis Rice or Chad Otterson. You know, it's like you'd be all kind of giddy. Yeah. Even though we see Chad Otterson walking through here quite a few times, but it's still one of those things, man. Yeah. It's just kind of a cool thing. Like you're in the presence of somebody who's like a pioneer for the sport. You know, in so many ways. Right. So I wonder if they feel that way about us. Be like, oh my god, dude, there's the dudes that make these boards. Dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? You think they ever feel nervous about meeting us?
It feels like the tours sometimes, like they're definitely very hyped to come see us.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always seem like the school bus tours. Those are always fun because you're just seeing like all the kids just wanting to like be around snowboards all the time.
Yeah.
It's like they're from Colorado. That's what they do all the time. They're like snowboarding during the winter, and then they come see like the board they're riding like being made like in their face, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's so cool!" So it's always fun to see.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree with that, man. That's super cool. I love seeing kids come through. Well, not just kids, but everybody, man. You know, adults, kids, teenagers. Yeah, just to see the process, whether they're even into snowboarding or not. Like most of the time, you know, you'll see people come through, and it's like you might sit there and ask yourself, be like, "Oh, does this dude even snowboard?" Like, I don't know. It looks like he plays basketball, or maybe he's really good at golf, but maybe he does shred. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Maybe he doesn't. You know, it's still a cool process to see.
Right.
You know.
So speaking of the process, what part of the process have you been working on all these since you've been here?
I've done 3 different processes here, man. So I started in the lab, so building the actual snowboards. I did that for about 3 years, roughly. Lost some leg hair in the process. Yeah. 3 years I did that. And then I went from that to QC. So QC basically pulling the snowboards from the molds that they're in. So when the builder builds the snowboard, put in the cassette, they put it into a mold, heat activates, the resin and everything like that, conforms it to shape, profile, whatever. So after that's done, a person has to come physically take it out of the mold, out of the press, take it over to a side table, mark it with all the necessary information. We mark it with like the number of the day, what board it was from that day, the model, who built it, what day it was built, if there's any defects to it, be it aesthetic or actual physical defects to, make that board either be a first quality, second quality, or a junk. That's kind of like the, what the QC guys look over. So I did that for a few years, and then I took my first hiatus, and that was to go to school. I went to school. I knocked out, I think it was a semester or something, a couple semesters. It was sort of an accelerated program that I was taking. It was multimedia technology at a local community college. So I took 6 months off and knocked out as much as I could with that. And then came back to Never Summer, worked here for a few more years. I came back to the same thing, the QC, working, pulling the boards and things like that. I would dabble between that and building, when they would need and things. We were also running like a longboard program. So it was super busy at that time. So that was cool, but I was learning graphic design at that point, and also like video editing and studying film and all that stuff too. So it was really cool. It was really relative to what I was doing at work as opposed to what I was going to school for. It was like I could kind of relate everything, because like a lot of projects in film I would do were based around Never Summer, like the build process or snowboarding and, just editing clips in here and there, So working here gave me like the ability, like just to hit up the marketing department and be like, yo, you guys got some clips that I can just have, right? I didn't have to go through all these like, these barriers or anything trying to just get clips, like being an artist yourself, like you can't just go online and snag stuff anymore. You can, but if you want to have,
do it the right way.
Yeah. If you want to do it the right way, if you want to present like a professional looking, product to somebody, or at least have it stashed in your portfolio, you're not going to be doing that. Right. Yeah. So it was really cool to have like, I was messing around with like images that like Never Summer was submitting to Trans World or Snowboarder Mag for like ads, and the designer or the art director would be like, yeah, man, here you go. Just mess around, do what you want. So I was getting all this really cool free content essentially, that I could like would really help me like, develop my skills and be a better designer. I was getting clips, that I was like just mashing together little videos and stuff like that. So it was all relative, and then I just, back to the tire thing, man. I kind of wanted to change of pace. So I took about 6 months off to go to work at the tire shop. And my brother had moved back actually from Oregon, and he's like, hey man, come check this out. This is a really good company to work for and this and that. So did that for a little bit and just butted heads with the management there, and, came knocking back on Never Summer's door. Like, take me back. It really wasn't even that hard. I was like, hey man, like I'm kind of done with this tire gig. Y'all got any openings? And they're like, yeah, we do. They asked me what I wanted to do, because at that time, like, 6 months, positions fill up and this and that. And I told them, I was like, well, I went to school. My desire is to do something with, like graphic design or something like that, right? So the production manager at that time was like, all right, come back on board. So I came back to Never Summer, went back to the QC spot that I was kind of burnt out with prior. So it was like, all right, man. But with like the whole promise or intent really to kind of move around. Okay. It was a new production manager at this point. So I did that same gig, the QC thing, for about another 6 months or so. And yeah, it kind of sucked, because it was the same. It was what I got burnt out with, and I came back to it, But on the flip side, I was back at, a good company that like I'd worked for several years. I was super cool with everybody, and back in that real chill, mellow environment with, all my friends again, you know what I mean? And, eventually moved out of that QC spot into the, digital print department. So just masking graphics and learning how to sublimate, learning the whole sublimation process. and that's a pretty cool process. If anybody doesn't know that, I mean, we're all pretty familiar with it, but
Yeah, tell us what it,
yeah.
Explain what that is.
Oh,
That
so
process.
yeah, man. Sublimation is
can't say.
basically just, you are transferring your image from a paper, which is essentially just a placeholder for your ink, and you're transferring it to a different medium. Our medium happens to be substrate, which is what the top sheet of our material is. Or the graphic of the board is just it's a substrate, and it absorbs the ink from the paper in a process called sublimation. So sublimation, kind of quick explanation, is like when you apply heat, pressure, and time to your paper and your substrate, it pulls the ink. It opens up the pores in your substrate material, which allows the ink to kind of embed itself into that material. Yeah, I mean, you could do it on anything. You could do wood, plastic, metals, glass, anything like that, so long as like your process is set up for that, So it's a really cool process. So you basically just, you take the ink from the paper, you put it on top of your substrate, whatever that is, use heat, pressure, and time, and that will transfer the ink from the paper into your substrate, and that's that, and then you finish it off like putting it on a snowboard or whatever else it is. So I learned all that stuff, and then I was honestly wondering, I was like, man, am I gonna be stuck doing this for a while? As I'm sure you might be thinking sometimes, working with me, man. And then I had the opportunity to kind of take over that department when the older print shop manager took a different position with a different company. And that was cool. That was a fun transition. I was really nervous about it, man, because it's just like, all right, man, here's, now you're in charge of all this stuff, and you have to communicate with everybody, man, not just people here at Never Summer, but all our OEM partners that we manufacture for. And you have to be on a good standing position with those guys, because you're talking to them constantly, man. They're wanting stuff from you. There's going to be times where you need stuff from them, so you have to really develop like good interpersonal relationships with them and their whole team too. Not just the owners, but like their whole squad, their marketing departments, their design department, and things like that, to make sure that their product is coming to you the way they need it, and it's going out the door the way they need it, which can be challenging sometimes.
Yeah. And I know with like all these connections, you've got a design for some other companies like High Society or Fabros.
Yeah. So I do some freelance gigs for those guys every once in a while, man. And I'll tell you what, it did take some time to kind of, I came rapping at their door a few times, man, talking to them about it, dude. So it did take some time to kind of pick those up, which is all right. I think in the design world, you gotta kind of, in a way, fall in line with what mimics your style of art, right? Like everybody, I think, like you can be diverse and you can have a different idea, or not necessarily, ideas. Obviously, ideas relate to art, but a specific style of art that you either like to do, like to see, whatever, procure. Like I would go out and buy a different painting than either one of you guys might like, right? Totally. Or, you're a fine artist, right? You paint differently than what I would paint, and it's all just preference or style, or just, sometimes just skill too, So getting connected with those companies, man, it was nice, man. It was cool. High Society is kind of more of a major gig that I do. I'm also helping them this year with their stuff as well. So it's fun, man. It definitely keeps the creative side going, as I'm sure you might know, as like being an artist sometimes, like that can kind of sort of come and go. I know you're really involved with it. You do a lot of stuff on the flip side with like First Fridays and painting, and your girlfriend and you are both really involved in like art, whatever it is, whatever mediums you guys are doing, clay, painting, whatever, right? So you're pretty heavily involved with it. I, on the other hand, am not super involved with it outside of the time frame in which I'm doing the work. I got a 3-year-old at home. Yeah. And it's really cool, dude. He loves doing art, but it's not the art that like, we're not doing it on the computer together, right? We're sitting on
painting.
Yeah, we're sitting on the floor doing finger painting, right? I don't think another company would be like, yeah, that's what I want for my my snowboarder ski top sheet. You'd be surprised though, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Honestly,
But
yeah, this is really cool. Like,
I mean, yeah, dude, it's cool though. I was actually random thought. I was at a concert the other day, and I remembered years and years ago, man. I went to this concert at oh gosh, man, I can't remember the name of the venue. Somewhere in Five Points.
Okay.
And it was a buddy's band. Penguin was the name of the band, and my buddy was a drummer, and we would go there. This is, man, I'm telling you, I was like 20, 21 maybe. And, my buddy Derek was there. My buddy Derek knows how to party. At least he knew how to party. He's quite a bit older now, but, he got booted from the show. He got drunk or whatever, dude. And he came back in, like he snuck back in through the back door. And this dude, he was a silly guy. I don't know how he got his hands on a Sharpie, but yeah, he always wore like a white undershirt, and he like scribbled on his t-shirt. He's like, "I got kicked out."
Oh shit!
And it was like the gnarliest, like, you know, like he's writing it himself, looking down. You know, it's all crooked, dude. It's like kinked up because of the shirt and whatever, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I thought of that, dude. The other day at the concert, I thought of that, and I was like, how cool that would be to do just like a t-shirt, random t-shirt design that says like, "I got kicked out." And it looked like somebody just drew on it. I know it was a really random thought. It probably had nothing to do with anything we were just talking about, but, you know, art's fun, dude. My kid loves art. He loves to do stuff. I get updates all, like, every day of, like, these projects that he does at school, and it's just super cool. Although at home, dude, he never wants to sit down and do stuff. He always just wants to be outside.
Oh,
wants
yeah.
to ride his bike. He wants to see, like, every day. He's like, "Dad, can I see my friends? Can I see my friends?" So, yeah, dude, he keeps me busier than I think I keep him. I
Oh, yeah, I'm
swear,
sure.
dude. He's go, dude.
Yeah.
It's like splash pad, ride the bike, you know, hang out with my
Relax.
friends all at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah. And it's even harder during the summertime because when, like, dude, I was outside last night at 9:30 taking the dog out for a walk, and like I looked northwest, and it was still like, you know, like that purplish, like just before the sun just dips.
Oh yeah.
You know, like dips and gets dark, man. I'm like, it's 9:30, dude. And it's still like pretty much daylight out here.
Yeah, it's hard to go in and
is this Alaska? You know what I mean? But it makes it hard, right? Because like the sun's out, dude. 3-year-old's up, and he's like, "It's not dark, so it's not bedtime."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, it's bedtime.
Darkness is bedtime.
Get to bedtime." Yeah. So
Yeah. Speaking of your kid, I know you made him a custom board and starting to teach him to snowboard.
Yeah, damn, I
Yeah.
should have brought that. Huh?
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't think to tell you about that.
Yeah. I did do a custom. So I'm like, so he's, like I said, man, he's a busybody, man. He just wants to do everything. And he's like my roll dog. Like him and I do everything together, man. We pretty much go everywhere together. We do it all together. And, I designed him a snowboard, man. He got old enough and he kind of expressed interest in it. You know, he started off with like a scooter, then his bicycle, and then we got him a skateboard. And then me and my wife were going skiing one time where, you know, we told him that he was going to go to a cousin's house and we were going to go. And he threw the biggest fit, man. He's like, I want to go. So that day, her and I were talking as we were like driving up to the mountain, and, you know, we're like, well, I mean, might as well. Why not? You know, what's the worst that could happen? You know, he just wants to play in the snow. All right, cool. So, you know, we kind of made a plan, and our plan was like, all right, well, you know, Mom, you can start off the day, go rip the mountain, whatever you want. I'll hang down here with him. And so she did. And I hung out down at the basin, the little valley area with him, dude. And it was actually really cool. We came across this really small, mellow, like catwalk thing, right, that they had. And it was like, I'd never seen it before. I was kind of worried we had to take him on the bunny hill, which for him and being the first time, I was like, man, I'm really nervous, dude, because it's kind of steep, you know? And I just kind of didn't really have an idea. I've never taught a kid that young to snowboard, right? Like I've taught a bunch of friends and things like that, but I was like really scared, even though like, you know, a few homies here have given me tips and pointers like, oh, do this, this works good, you know? Still, dude, until you're in that situation, right? Like all is fine and well. I could tell you how to do this stuff all day, right?
Right.
But when you're there and you're like, oh shit, I got to really do this. Like I got to physically do this, man. It's just like, you don't forget, you know what I mean? But it's like, ooh, this is kind of scary.
Right.
So luckily we found this really, really mellow hill, dude. And he dude, he ripped.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like got him on like the first couple runs down. I was kind of tugging on his shirt a little bit, you know, kind of speed checking him. And there was a couple times where he'd turn around, he'd like hit my hand and be like, "I got it, Dad. I'm all right, dude. You're 3. You're like, just chill, okay? You got plenty of time. Let me get you." So got him down the hill a couple times, got him on the little conveyor belt thingy to get him back up to the top of the hill. And Mom got done skiing, and she came down there. So we kind of positioned her at the top, so she got him off, kind of pushed him over to the side of the hill, and I stood at the bottom, and we just kind of gave him a little nudge, and he'd calm down, dude, and he just like, boom, I think he was hooked.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And then another time later, we took him twice this last season. Another time later, we actually, we did end up getting kind of like this harness because he really, really wanted to go on the lift. Like he was like temper tantrum, pissed off, dude, because we told him no, right? Because we didn't have a harness the first time. And he got really, really mad about that. So we ended up getting the harness and we took him on the lift the second time, dude. And he just like, yeah, he loved that too. Yeah. It was tough, man. I give Mom props, dude. She she was very patient in that one. That was tough, dude. Even though he was just having such a good old time, man, big old smile on his face and laughing the whole time, it was pretty difficult, man, just trying to keep him up because he wanted to keep lifting his feet. And he's a big dude, you know, he's like 45 pounds right now, you know, and Mom's only like 5'5", dude, and, you know, maybe $130. So she's got this 45-pound weight, like pulling her down as she's trying to go down the mountain, you know. She's a skier, so lucky it like, kind of made it a little easier, you know. Yeah. She kind of pivot a little bit, but props to her, man. She carried that little dude down the hill, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he had a good time, though. It was really sweet. Yeah.
I always love seeing you guys go because we go to Loveland like, I don't know, every Friday when the winter happens. And when I see you guys up there with him, he's the fucking best. He's super adorable.
Yeah, dude.
He's just like rambunctious as possible.
You'll probably turn into Uncle Malik sooner than later, man.
Oh, yeah.
He'll see you a couple more times. Be like, Uncle Malik. Uncle Malik. You tell that's his nickname for everybody. Uncle. Everybody's uncle, man. Everybody's uncle,
nice,
right?
Because everyone's looking out for him, trying to make sure he's all right. So it's really nice.
Yeah, he's a super social kid, man. We went and saw fireworks the other night. There was a show going on in the suburb right next to us, and we walked over there, and he was walking around. They got this little pond, and anytime we ever go to the park that's over by that pond, he always wants to throw rocks in the water. So he's asking me, "Dad, can we go to the pond?" Yeah, sure, whatever. So we walk down there, and he's, you know, fireworks are booming off over here. I'm trying to watch them. You know, try to keep an eye on him. And he just like sits down and starts talking to this like grown ass man with his family. You know, he's got his wife, his kids, and they're sitting there watching the fireworks. And Rowan is literally just having a full blown conversation with this dude. You know, I can't remember what he's saying, but he always starts conversations off like this. Hey, 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 and then he'll go into it, and then I'll be like, I always try to crack, be like, hey, you know, man, say excuse me, you know, to kind of break, you know, don't be so abrasive.
Just asserts himself.
Yeah, oh, totally, dude. He's just up in there, man. He's like, hey, this is what I did today. What you got? What's your story, bro? You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a fun kid, dude. He's super social.
Yeah. So, I guess I kind of want to ask about some other projects you got to do here. I know you helped out with the Wounded Warriors project.
It wasn't the Wounded Warriors project. It was the Navy SEAL Foundation.
Okay.
So Wounded Warriors is like, I don't know if Never Summers actually did anything with the Wounded Warriors projects. They're a pretty big time player in like in that field. But yeah, the Navy SEAL Foundation. Okay. So yeah, I've been the main designer for that project for, God, Ryan's going to kill me. I want to say about 11 years, man.
Okay.
11 years now.
Dang.
Took a couple year hiatus because of COVID. But yeah, so Ryan actually brought that project to Never Summer, and it's been really cool. So in a nutshell, what it is the Navy SEAL Foundation is a nonprofit organization that raises money to help families of Navy SEAL veterans, operators, things like that, kind of cope with the life of being in a relationship with a partner who's part of active duty military or retired duty, whatever, you know, but may have some injuries associated and like, you know, just challenges that come along with that. So the Navy SEAL Foundation is there to kind of help support the families, like the wives and the children, and make sure that they're coping with everything too. You know, they do help the operator and assist the operator, whether it's active duty or retired as well. But I think the main focus is primarily on the families and helping them kind of get through everything that's going on as well.
Okay.
You know, so supporting the operator, but also supporting that family. So they do a lot of things where they'll help fund the kid to go like summer camps or something like that, or help fund like, you know, the partner to go do things outside of the home, you know, away from the kids and things like that, to kind of just do something fun so they're not always bogged down by the stress and everything that comes along with like that sort of lifestyle and stuff like that. So yeah, we've been doing that for 11 years. We do, they're all charity events. So there's 6 of them per year spread throughout the country. And one is here in Denver. So that's a pretty cool thing. We get invited to that every year. We get to go to the actual event. So we design the snowboard, build the snowboard here in Never Summer, and we present it to them on behalf of Never Summer. And they're always super gracious, man. You know, kind of going back to the conversation earlier about like meeting people and being all giddy.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's crazy because like some of the people that I've like rubbed shoulders with at these events, man, like I don't know the military jargon. I don't know the ranks and things like that, but like master sergeants or whatever, like dudes who were like up there in the military, man, like the brass, you know, like sitting there bullshitting about skiing with like a Navy SEAL veteran. Like I'm talking to them about skiing and snowboarding.
That's
like,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Like not something that you would particularly think that you'd be doing. Oh yeah, I'm going to go talk to a bunch of Navy SEALs, you know, about snowboarding.
Yeah.
Right.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah. One thing Ryan always says, Ryan's my buddy who's worked here for quite some time and brought the project here to Never Summer. He always says, man, like every year, man, he's like, who would have thought that snowboarding Navy SEALs would ever, you know,
Yeah. That's
match,
a weird mix.
you know,
Yeah.
mashed up together, you know what I mean? But, you know, the cool thing is though, is that Never Summer has taken that project on, and they've allowed him and I to run that project. You know, they put their utmost faith and confidence in us to make sure that we're doing the best we can, you know, and being appropriate in handling that project, you know, and that's been really cool. That's kind of a cool thing to have, you know, on our shoulders, right? So we take a lot of pride in doing that. Golly, every year.
You need some water?
No, I got my water right there, man. I'm good. It just got a little bit of burp, but, you know, going back to that too, Never Summer's been really big and really supportive in the, like with the military as well.
Yeah.
You know, like, believe it or not, man, military does use skis and snowboards,
Right.
you know, and like their winter operations and stuff like that.
So the 10th division, I think it is.
Yeah, 10th Mountain Division,
Yeah.
you know, things like that, dude. So
Yeah.
they do use skis and snowboards. So it all is relative, you know, but it's been a really cool, kind of track going with that.
Did you
know?
get a coin from was it the Navy SEALs who gave you a coin, or?
Yeah, actually I did, dude. So every year at the charity event, they do brand their own, they're called challenge coins.
Yeah.
They brand their own coins for the event. So I've gotten several of those, but I actually was given one, personal coin by a retired operator. Not gonna throw his name out there. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that. So I'm just gonna say no, but he was a dog handler on one of the teams, and he's since retired, but he did come through here. He was an associate that we work closely with the whole project every year. We talk to him and, you know, just, you know, get information, what like images and things like that. He can discloses with us what it's okay to use versus what's not, and this and that. So he's still really relative to the project. But yeah, he came through on a tour, and that year that we had done that particular project, I think it was a canine board that we did, or something like that. Or it could have been a company. Oh, you know what it was? It was Wilderness Culture. So it was a hiatus from the Navy SEAL Foundation-ish. I can't remember the details on it, but we ended up collabing with him. I believe it's a Wilderness Culture, which is like a company that he was either founded or working with. It's been quite a few years ago. I can't remember exactly. So, I believe that was it. the wilderness culture. He came through as a business that he was associated with, whether he started it or was working with. But yeah, anyway, he came through on a tour and gave me a coin, which is really cool. You know, I don't know if you ever shaken a military guy's hand, but they typically take your arm with them. You know, so I got a coin, he got my arm. You know,
cool.
fair trade, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was awesome.
That is awesome.
When's the next event? Or when's the next
August of this year. I can't remember the day, but the month is August. Yeah.
Okay.
So we got a really cool idea in the bag right now that we're working with. We've obviously we've made some really good friendships. Got this guy, really good homie. His name is Jesse, and he was like a Vietnam era Navy SEAL. He was a medic, and he's been super instrumental with us. And he's actually on the board of the Navy SEAL Foundation too. So he's one of the guys that calls the shots. And him being a veteran, being a really close friend, and we've never done like a medevac board, you know, so that's kind of the idea we're doing. So we might slap his face up on there.
Okay. Yeah.
Big Jesse looking
Really
pretty
cool.
on the board, whatever, man. So, but we got some cool ideas circulating for this one, man. But yeah, it's this August. I'm not sure if you could buy tickets. I'm not sure if it's open to the public. You can go to like Navy SEAL Foundation.
We'll try to find some information.
Yeah, put it up there. I mean, like I said, I don't know that it's open to the public, but you can always contribute. Like,
Exactly.
You can always donate money and things like that. And yeah, I mean, if there is anybody out there that's interested who's listening, yeah, check it out. If you guys are huge on the military and want to support it, I mean, that's a pretty good cause to support, but to each his own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't want to, you don't want to. That's fine. You know, they're not going to come hunt you down. That you know of, right? Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So speaking of meeting cool people, did you get to meet Terry Kidwell?
Not Terry Kidwell, no, dude. I didn't get to meet Terry Kidwell. I was really bummed about it. So back in the day, I'm talking maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that, maybe. Sims kind of came to Never Summer, and we started doing some of their production, kind of helping them kind of get back on track, you know, get out of like the big box stores, and they were like kind of rebranding their whole company. And they wanted to do some Terry Kidwell reissues of specific snowboard design that he had done back in the day, like one of his most popular models. I can't remember what it was, but it looked like a skateboard. Like the bottom was like the bottom of a skate deck, like trucks and wheels. Yeah. Unfortunately, at that time, Kidwell had gotten really sick, man. I think he was dealing with some kind of a cancer. So he was supposed to come out to Never Summer while we were doing the project, but his condition just kind of turned for the worse. So he was actually unable to come out here. So that was kind of a bummer for sure. Because, you know, growing up, even in the skate industry, I don't know if you guys have seen videos of Kidwell, man. He ripped on a skateboard too. He killed it, you know. So that was kind of a bummer that I never got the chance to meet him. But I've met some other really cool people along the way, like Chad Arderstrom. You know, he rides for Academy. He comes in and out of the factory. He actually lives here in Colorado, so he comes in and out of the factory quite a bit. Back in the day, Mark Frank Montoya, MFM. Don't know if you guys know him, but he's a Denver native. He grew up in Denver, and he was really big, like late 90s, early 2000s, rode for Tech 9, you know, when Gags used to rep for him and stuff like that. Yeah. So he was a big deal, dude. He was a huge influence in the, dude, he had the most lofty, floaty backside 180. Like, go look up MFM, Mark Frank Montoya, backside 180. It is like the smoothest trick ever, dude. Like, it's just like floaty.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's no like, you know, no jerk to it. He's just like, you know, like, yeah, just chilling in the air, dude. Like Jesus doing a backside 180.
That's right.
But no, he is super cool, man. And, I was doing a freelance gig with a company. It's this, brewery actually down off Santa Fe in Evans, man, Declaration Brewery. And, had a buddy who knew a dude who knew the dude, you know, so got linked up with them, helped them with some marketing stuff, man. And Marco was, he was affiliated in there some way or another. And I remember going to this meeting one time. It was back when Declaration was just a skeleton of a building, man. And we went down there, did kind of a quick marketing meeting, and I totally fangirled out. And I straight up called him, man. I walked up to him. I was like, hey, man, I'm gonna fangirl on you real quick, dude. You know, I grew up watching you skating. I had your shoe, your DVS model, you know, this and that, dude. And he was just real cool, down to earth, dude, man. He was just laughing and giggling, whatever, man. Although I never did get his autograph, you know, which I don't know why I didn't, man. I've never been like a huge autograph person, you know, because I don't want to like clutter everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm saying an autograph something would be clutter, like that's kind of stupid to say. But I don't know, man. I just enjoyed the experience of actually just like working with him, right?
Yeah.
And then having that moment to fangirl out, you know. And then from there, I haven't seen him for quite some time. I think he lives in Cali now. But a few times here and there, man, we ended up seeing him at a concert. He was actually a DJ too.
Okay.
So saw him at the concert when he was coming off stage, said what's up to him and stuff like that. Super cool, dude. But same as Terry, man. He grew up actually skateboarding or snowboarding, I think. And he picked up skateboarding during like the summer months to keep his skill set for snowboarding. You know, keep like the repetitiveness, the memory, muscle memory, you know, kind of as a workout. But then he, you know, kind of became like a side pro at skateboarding, you know, and snowboarding. And yeah, just all around super cool dude. But yeah, never got to meet Kidwell, unfortunately. Heard he was a super cool dude though. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Right on.
Met Hillary. She was cool. Yeah. The owner of Sims.
Oh,
Well, you know, like Tom owned Sims.
Yeah.
And Hillary was his wife, and then Tom passed away, but so she kind of kept it.
okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
she
that
kept
makes more sense.
she kept with the program, kept it going, and she was actually the one that came to Never. Someone was like, "Hey, man, we want to kind of like re-identify with a different crowd. We don't want to sell our boards and wherever they were, Kmart, whatever, you know, some big box store, right? They wanted to kind of bring it back to where it was before. So that was kind of a cool, fun little time there as well. Get to work with that brand for a while.
I guess Dick gave me some false information then.
They did, dude.
Yeah.
You kick somebody in the shin for that one.
Yeah. Okay, so being here a while, I'm sure there's been some mistakes that have gone down. There's these this quote on the ski table that says "Never forget."
Oh yeah.
What should we never forget?
Okay, so let me set the scene for this one, man, for people, right, who either have never been here or don't know. So in the print department, we, along with our sublimation process, we have some flatbed presses. And those flatbed presses are air pressure driven. You know, we got some actuators in there that press it down. Simple enough, you know. But we got another process in how we run the skis. So we run a stack of 30 pairs of skis all at the same time. So it's sublimation is the same sublimation process. It's that instead of using actuators and like air pressure, we're using a vacuum pressure. So we have heat coming from the bottom and the top of this unit that we're using, and everything is in between. Like the skis are all stacked up, and then we use like fiberglass to help kind of keep the heat in, and you know, whatever, because we use a lot of metal, a lot of aluminum, mainly because it disperses heat pretty evenly. Well, you know, with these things, you got to pay attention to the heat, you know, and use like thermometers and things like that. Not like a typical thermometer, like you take your temp with, right? It's just like this little thin piece of aluminum that's attached to a wire that goes to this reader, you know, that reads out the temperature and stuff like that. So never forget one. There's two. I don't know if you noticed that, but there's two. There's two never forgets. Same situation though, is that I think never forget one happened sort of like in the center of the bag, at roughly about where the thermometer came in, and somehow, some way, man. So electricity vibrates, right? As it passes through the cords and through the wires, like electricity is a vibration, you know, so over time, you know, even though it's a small flow of electricity, it's a very small wire, you know, it loosens things, and that wire came loose. And thank God it was the insulation, right? Because like, I don't know if you've ever tried to light fiberglass on fire, but it doesn't light on fire very easily. It sort of just smolders.
Okay.
So that was never forget one. You just kind of had like a little small patch that like
just burned
smoldered
it.
up.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But it was scary, right? Because we were
Yeah.
also using a piece of wood at that time
Okay.
on top. So the heat that was creating, it wasn't hot enough to ignite the wood.
Yeah.
It was definitely hot enough to smolder it. So you walk in the room and it smells like a campfire and you got a bunch of smoke, right? And there's a bunch of like fire sprinklers in there. And,
How much
You know.
smoke are we talking?
oh man, probably walking into a room with like Cheech and Snoop Dogg are sitting in there.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
a lot of smoke, you know what I'm
smoke.
saying?
That's a lot of
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty large room, so it probably wouldn't be as dense, right? But like, definitely like if there was a few big potheads chiefing in the room, type of smoke. So yeah, and then never forget too, it was the same situation. It was just a little bit larger, smoldered a little bit bigger. But that's the scary stuff, dude, is like working with that electricity, man, and always making sure that those thermometers are plugged in. It's like, I'm sure you've seen me I'm constantly, not constantly, but more often than not, walking over, checking, making sure those temps are accurate, making sure they're not going above, right? Because those thermometers are meant to hold your temp at whatever it's set. But if those aren't present, then like that temperature doesn't have a stopping point.
Yeah.
And there's
just keep
been
going
a
up.
couple other occasions where I think you've been a part of,
Yeah.
where we've actually melted silicone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That was a lot of smoke too.
That
Was a scary one. That one puckered up the butthole. Like, cause like we have those fire sprinklers right above that area
where all
and
the graphics are printed out.
where they're sublimated.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have them all throughout the room too, where they're like around the printers.
Right.
But oh man, yeah, that one spooked me.
Yeah.
Probably the most out of anything, for sure. So
Never
Yeah.
forget.
yeah, dude, never forget, for sure. Yeah, man.
Dang. Is Hall & Oates your favorite 80s band?
No, bad information. Bad information on that too, dude. No. Hall & Oates is actually so this dude that used to work here, Richard, Dick, whatever you want to call him, man. Cool dude. Still a friend of mine to this day. Hall & Oates was his favorite band.
Yeah.
He loved Hall & Oates, dude. However, I dig them. I mean, they're not my favorite. I would say my favorite 80s band is probably Queen. I love Queen. I do kind of like not particularly the 80s side of Metallica, more like late 80s, early 90s of Metallica, but also 80s Madonna, bro. 80s and 90s Madonna. Dude. She was so hot, bro. She was so hot. Like, legit, man.
Did you like the music or just like her?
Both. Yeah, I'll jam out, dude. But it's like, I'll watch the video. It's like, you know what I mean? But I would say, like, ultimately, man, I actually, like, even just yesterday, dude, I was cleaning up the house and everything, man, and the kid was outside, dude, and I just threw on some Queen, man. I really did. I dig Queen, man. It's a cool story, kind of a sad ending to it, but I don't know, man. Freddie Mercury, like, not even just him, dude, but like the whole band together and just seeing how they worked together as a team, dude. And like they were one of those bands too that was like together for like ever, Freddie went off and did his own thing for a little bit, but then they all came back, and it was all the original members of the band, throughout the whole career of the band. Like there was no replacement drummer, there was no replacement guitarist or anything like that. It was all the same dudes throughout like the course of the career of the band until Freddie died. I know they got a new lead singer now, but yeah, Hall & Oates definitely not my favorite. That's another shin kick for whoever told you that.
Nah, I was told from Dick that he would always annoy you with that. He would blast it on the speakers. And
so was that a sarcastic question?
That was a sarcastic
that was
question.
meant to be sarcastic?
That was meant to be sarcastic.
Yeah, see,
the other two were...
You're so mellow sometimes, dude. I don't know if you're being serious or sarcastic.
Yeah.
So you got to hold the dick on that one, huh?
Yeah.
No. It would never annoy me, but he would play it often. He would play it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a creature of habit too, man. I like what I like.
Definitely, yeah.
Same with Queen. Like, there's some songs that I really like that I don't mind. I'll play them back to back to back, Not necessarily in like an open setting like this, dude, where y'all got to hear it like 5 times in a row, but, headphones, dude, I love it.
Hell yeah.
Self karaoke, dude.
Yeah, let's start some karaoke in the print shop.
Yeah, dude. Right, man. Shoot.
Dang.
Fun time.
You got any more questions? think I got.
No. I mean, there's some things I'd like to know. Like,
Ask away, man.
So, snowboard wise, like, what do you do now? I mean, because I know obviously we haven't snowboarded, but I've seen you up on the mountain.
Right, dude? It's like Bigfoot, right? Like I've seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
What does he do?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a mythical thing, dude. Yeah, no, I do snowboard.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I figured as much. But like,
Yeah.
what do you do when you're actually out there? Are you just kind of an enjoyer of the groomed?
Yes and no. So I've never done backcountry. Honestly, it sounds like a cool thing to do. And we obviously have some homies here that work in the factory that are very conditioned and, you know, very good at it. But it's never been my jam. Like I've never really had the desire to like go hike a run, you know, and ride down and only maybe get that run once or twice in that day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not scared of the work that you'd have to put in, but it's not necessarily something that like I would jam out to, you know? But yeah, man, I really like just going up on the hill, dude, and just kind of cruising, man. I'm not like the fastest rider on the mountain, dude, to be honest with you, man. I'm always really the one that's kind of like leading up the pack, you know, like everybody's in front of me.
Okay, yeah.
You know, like
I definitely felt that very recently. A bunch of the guys, like, you know, Jared and Vince and all the older guys, they were like, "Oh, let's go in the back of Beaver Creek or whatever that backside of the mountain is."
Beavers and A Basin.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
They just went off the side of the mountain. I was going off the path, and they were like, "Yeah, let's just go off the side in the trees where it's like icy and everything." I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I can probably do this. It's not that bad," without thinking that it would be horrible, very bad. So,
you know, those dudes, Vince and Gags and Jared, like those cats, man, they've been ripping for forever, right? Like, have you guys talked to Vince? You sat down with him? Yeah. So like Vince has a pretty cool story. You know, he's been in the industry for literally from like day one.
oh wow,
You know, Gags has been in the industry for quite some time, man. He came, I know you guys had him on the show.
Yeah.
He came from like his whole corporate job and was like, fuck that. I'm going to Colorado, and did his jam in the snowboarding industry and became really successful. Not only with the companies that he's worked for, but as a rider, dude, like, you know, like he's our, domestic sales manager, man, you know, and he'll go out and he'll take runs with all these dudes, like everybody that he knows, man. He calls them up. Hey, dude, you know, come out to Colorado, whatever, man. Let's go take a ride. Or, you know what? I'll come to you. I'll bring you some snowboards, man. He's on the hill all the time with all these dudes, like shop owners, reps, things like that, dude. You know, so these dudes get, you know, a lot, like they have a lot of experience, man. Shit I wouldn't do. Like I'll duck the rope here and there, man, but I'm definitely way more cautious about it. I'll look down the side and be like, yeah, that looks kind of steep, dude.
Yeah.
How am I feeling? Did I sleep okay last night, dude? And like got a muscle tweak or anything like that, dude? You know, like what are my other weekend plans with my kid? You know, like all that stuff comes into consideration, you know, before I decide like, okay, I'm going to go this way or I'm going to go that way. You know what I mean? Or if I'm going to try to like hit this little wind lip over here, you know, like all this stuff's going through my head, like considerations, man. Like, how old are you again, Chris? Oh yeah, okay, cool, man. What's your copay for the ER? You know, things like that, dude. I've always like hung out on the side of safety. You know, I've never really been a huge risk taker in my life, man.
Okay. I feel like that's not true.
That is-
I've heard Jared say that you get into accidents all the time.
Okay. All right. So, let me clarify this because I was talking to him about that the other day, actually. So every time that I've ridden with Jared, this is like early days. Yeah, man, that's the thing, right?
Okay.
Like,
I definitely understand that.
yeah,
It's a
yeah. So
difference.
it's like when you ride with somebody who has like who's better skilled than you, man, right? It makes you want to kind of try to keep up.
Yeah.
Right. So like this is early days when I started working here, right? I'm like early 20s, man. Like I said, I didn't start snowboarding till I was 21. I don't think I stated that earlier. Like until I started working in Never Summer, I was 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the most I did before that, dude, was ollie like maybe a 4 or 5 stair set ever. That was like the biggest I ever got, dude. you know. But like you say shit, right? But it was like probably a 5-stair set that's like
Well, no,
maybe
I've
like,
never done
like 3
stairs.
feet high,
Like I
right?
barely
Like,
did an ollie. So
yeah, dude. So never got good at skateboarding, dude. Definitely didn't go pro on that. But so yeah, the early days, man. Me and Jared lived pretty close to each other for quite some time, dude. So yeah, we'd always link up either after work or on the weekends, and we'd go ride. So a couple instances, I went up to Breck with him. It was they were just dating his current wife. They were dating at that time. And a couple of their other friends. And I think it was Breck or Keystone, one of the two. And we're just cruising, man. There's like this like little lip, like natural lip by the trees off on the side of the run. And everybody's hitting it. I'm like, oh, I can do that shit too. I think it's maybe like my 3rd time snowboarding, right? So I go and I was like, one of my better tricks that I could do on a skateboard was a frontside 180. So I mean, like, I'm on a snowboard. I'm going to do a frontside 180. I can do it on a skateboard just fine, right? That was wrong. Came down, fucked myself up on that one, dude, and looked like, a big pansy, but I've always also had the mindset where it's like, hey, dude, like, I even told them, I was like, go ahead. Y'all don't have to wait for me, man. I'll find my way to the bottom. If I'm fucked up, whatever. I'll find my way down. You don't have to wait for me. Like, don't feel sorry, make fun of me. Like, that's cool, dude. Like, I don't care. I'm out here, and it's like, if it's something that I enjoy doing, whether it's skateboarding, snowboarding, whatever it is, man, and I want to try to be better at it, like, I'm going to push myself. Yeah. And if I have someone there that's better than me that I know skill-wise, like, I'm not going to necessarily try to match their level, but it's going to amp me up, dude. It's going to kind of like make me feel more confident. Like, oh yeah, dude. Okay, cool. He just hit it. She just hit it. They just hit it. I'm going to try it too. I mean, fucking why not? Right? I hurt myself. Yeah. So I've never been the one that's like always sat back and be like feel embarrassed, like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that in front of people. It's never really been anything like that, dude. And then the second time was we went longboarding, and there was this neighborhood up by where he lived that was like under construction, and I was on like the super thick downhill deck, and he was on a little thin flex deck. Had like real tight turning radius, and this neighborhood is kind of weird, so he was going to go down the driveways that were being built, and then I was going to go circle around the road, and then we'd catch up kind of like where the driveway hit the road and continue on. He was going to do the driveway because it was a sharper turn to come out. I was going to do the road because I was on the bigger board that didn't have as much of a turning radius. So something happened. I don't know if he got ahead of me or what, however it was, dude. I ended up going down the driveway. He ended up taking the road split. And, I was fucking mocking, dude. And so this wasn't really a situation where it's like he was pushing me to try to be better or anything like that. It was just like, we fucked up. I went this way when I was supposed to go that way and vice versa, man. And this board that I was on did not have a turning radius whatsoever. So, instead of like eat shit on the concrete, I rode it as close to the curb where there was grass as I possibly could, without hitting it and like flying off. And then when I got there, I was just like, I'm going to run this bitch out. I'm going to run it out, dude. Hit the grass, dude. Probably got like 3 or 4 steps in, and then just gravity took over. Just took the tumble, man. Scraped up the knee, scraped up the elbow on the grass, and we all know that still sucks, dude. So thankfully it was not on the concrete. Yeah, that's a good move. Yeah, dude. Thankfully they had some grass going on there, man. But yeah, dude, it kind of turned into like one of those running things. Like anytime I'd ever roll or like, ride with Jared, whatever it was, man, I would always end up getting hurt in some way or another. But it was always just because, man, like Jared's a good skater. He's a good snowboarder. He's got really good skill at both those sports, dude. And when you're with him, man, it's just like, you just kind of want to like not compete necessarily, but you just kind of want to like, you want to keep that vibe and that energy going. Right. So, I mean, like nowadays, if I were to go over to his house, I wouldn't skate his mini ramp because I know I would suck. I would not be able to keep up with like that energy, because like it's in his basement. He rides that thing every day, I'm sure. And he's had it for years, dude. So he's really good at it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, I would just chill there, be like, maybe there's an intermission or something. I might go try to drop in or something like that. But whatever, dude.
Yeah.
It's all good. He's fun to skate with, man. He's been a homie ever since, pretty much day one. So, yeah, we've been to some skate parks together and, lots of fun stuff, dude. So.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Is
I
he
remember-
rocking the old Never Summer skateboards? Or are they only longboards?
Oh, no, dude. So, Jared actually has one of our decks. It's called the Rival, I believe it was. So we did, mainly we did do longboards, like when you say longboard, people think about it like big decks,
Yeah.
right? Like wide wheelbase, carving decks or bomber decks or something like that, dude. So there was a later in the direction of our longboard program, we did bring out a board. I believe it was called the Rival, and it was a double kicktail deck, dude. I think it was like 9 inches wide. It was a big one, dude. So it was like, I think it was like a 5-ply deck. So the ply that we got were thicker than like a traditional skateboard deck ply. It's like, skateboard decks are 7 or 9.
Yeah.
But our plies were thick enough to where we would do, I think they were 4 or 5. But then we'd also do the top fiberglass and the bottom fiberglass too. So they were like super sturdy.
Yeah.
And I think he rocks one of those for like his, like, if I remember right, I think either he still skates it or he just has it, and he probably still has it set up. So if he ever wants to use it, I don't know if it's like his daily skater when he goes to like the bowls or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, dude, that deck's probably like 10 plus years old. But I mean, it's
But it
built like our,
probably still
it's built,
rocks.
yeah, dude, it's built like our
Still
snowboards,
rocks, yeah.
dude. Yeah, man, like it's
Exactly.
run that thing over, it's
That's
not gonna
awesome.
crack. You know what I mean?
Really cool.
So, and then we did a re-release on that a couple years after that called the Revival. I might have those names mixed up.
I would know. It was not there. When
It was a
you guys
long
were doing
time
that,
ago.
yeah.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, you think I would remember all this stuff, right? Because like I deal with all the
It's a lot
graphics
to
and like,
remember.
dude, yeah. Like sometimes I can't even remember what I did last week. Like, oh, do you remember
that
this?
seems like a
Do
good
you remember
one.
this graphic? It's just, I mean, yeah, bro. I'm old, right? I mean, but I mean, there's just like you can't. There's just some things you can't necessarily stay hyper aware of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're like, Andreas knows we're pushing tons and tons of top sheets out, every single day, every single week, to keep up with our production and things like that, dude. And even just to get ahead, so it's just a lot, man. And it's one of those things where it's like the same thing over and over and over. So it's just like you kind of lose your memory in regards to, you know what I mean? It's like the
Yeah, I
same
know
thing
what you
over
mean,
and over. You know how to do it. You know what's going on. You know what is what. But after you print this graphic 40 or 50 times, or 40 or 50 different runs, you're like, all right, dude, it's like second nature to you and you're not even paying attention really. That's bad to say. I don't want to say that. I pay attention to my job.
Yeah. But not all that. Like,
Yeah, like,
No, it's like when you're
forget
doing
the graphics and stuff.
yeah, you forget that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say. Exactly. Like, people will be like, do you remember this snowboard from such and such? No.
No.
Do you have a favorite Never Summer graphic?
Ooh, yeah, I do, man. The Premiere F1. God, what year was
Explain what it looked
it? Dude, it's sick, dude. So on the nose of the board, it's like these really like mellow hills. It's like almost like a meadow, but it's all covered in snow, and it's like a sunset coming down, and it's like glowing over the snow, dude. And it was an F1 Premiere graphic that we did years and years ago.
Is it
Like,
kind of
absolutely
like,
love that graphic.
Picasso's painting kind of style? Was that
No, it was a
really
photo.
saw something like
It was a
that.
photo.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what was on the tail of the snowboard, but I do distinctly remember that being on the nose, and it was super sick. I like that one a lot. And then there was so when we did the SL model and the Legacy model, they were kind of like twin snowboards to each other. One was a wide model, one was just like a regular model. So SL was normal, Legacy was like the wider version, and they had always like, for the longest time, the Legacy colors were like kind of blue and black, and the SL was like green and black. And there was a couple of years we did some like green and black SL graphics that were super sick too. But I think the F1 is like standout, was one of my favorite graphics for sure.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, how'd you like my custom? Or which custom did you like the most of this year that you like helped?
Man, again, going back to the awareness, dude. I forget all of them,
Outdoor
all the ones I do, dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Um,
Oh, I guess technically you didn't help with mine. Andreas had before.
Yeah, that was cool, man. I like the idea that you put a QR code. That was a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Like with the soundtrack to the Scooby Doo movie.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo show. Yeah.
Scooby Doo show. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Man, Chase did that Where's Waldo one. That was pretty cool.
Oh,
that was
yeah,
kind of
that's really
clever.
cool, yeah.
Yeah. Going back to Adam Baker,
Mhm.
the guy we talked about earlier in the show. Dude who started the day before I did. Oh my gosh, that guy was so picky, but some of the graphics that him and I knocked out, dude, like as intricate as they were, man, like they were probably some of the best graphics that like tested my ability as a designer, like at the times I was building them. Dude, I'm talking like he wanted this one where he wanted like this polar bear when you were looking down, this polar bear's face, but you were standing on the ice and it was cracking under your feet and this polar bear was coming up, dude, but he wanted the reflection of the sun on it, man, like just very particular, you know, and I'm talking like knocking out a graphic file that's like 4 or 5 gigs,
Oh,
you know, just because it's like the images and things that I was using at that time were like such high res, you know, because like, you know, an artboard for a snowboard's huge, man. You know, you're talking like 14 inches wide, you know, from build, like 14 inches wide by however big your snowboard is, anywhere between 59 inches to 70 inches for just the top graphic, you know, so that's a big artboard
Yeah, it's a big
to work
yeah.
on, man,
Oh,
you know, so Photoshop, it looks like it's this big,
yeah.
you know, like there's been a few times where I've printed out graphics. I'm like, oh shit, that was off a little bit. I need to go back through and reduce that or change that up, move that in a little bit here and there, you know, but yeah, it kind of throws you for a loop sometimes, man. You get so used to working on such a small screen. And then when you see these things like 100% size, you're like, whoa, man. Even to this day, yeah, it's way different, dude.
Yeah.
Way different for sure.
Cut out too and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the hard part too, dude, is like when you're building a graphic or working on a graphic, whether it's for skis or snowboards, man, it's like you see what's on screen. So you're seeing this graphic as a whole, like a giant rectangle or whatever, right? And you can have your template that you work with as well. So you can see what it looks like on screen when you put your board template or ski template on.
Yeah.
But there are, dude, I've come across tons of graphics that look so much better when they're on the shape of like either the snowboard or the ski, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah, when you print it out, you're like, oh, that looks kind of goofy, whatever, right? And then it gets built and cut out and shaped up. And you're like, oh, damn,
Yeah.
that actually looks really cool, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Because like snowboards are kind of a weird thing to design too, because it's like a really like short or like skinny long thing.
Yeah.
You don't really
Yeah.
design much like that.
skis are harder.
Skis
Suck, man. They're so challenging to design, dude. Because like
Also-
because you're only designing for like what 5 or 6 inches by 70 some inches,
Yeah, okay.
right? So like all your art has to fit within a parameter that's like, you know, no more than really like 6.5 inches wide, right? 7 inches maybe. Just because you know we're the only obstruction that we really have is just the width of the material, right? So if you're working with a 14-inch substrate material, each ski, right, is coming out of that. So a pair of skis is coming out of that piece of material. So each ski's artboard is only 6.5 inches. That's actually going to be on the face of the ski, right? Because you got to account for what's going to get cut off. So yeah, coming up with like an art, you know, or just like a design that's going to, you know, only go 6.5 inches by 72 inches long, man, that's difficult. Because yeah, you can design, like you design as a whole, right? But you got to keep in mind, like that shit's going to get cut in half. You know, so it's like those freelance projects and stuff like that, you know, when I did Fay Brothers, they're a telemark ski company, you know, so they had like 5 or 6 different, you know, ski models and they had a really good idea of what they wanted. You know, they communicated really, really well. So it wasn't a super hard project, you know, they didn't want like necessarily images on their graphic. It was more just like texture and color. And then they wanted their logo kind of like expanded and stuff like that. So it was a pretty easy project, but you know, still nonetheless, you're like, oh man, how much of this logo is going to be on this ski compared to this ski? Is it going to match the shape of their logo? Things like that you got to keep in mind, you know, because like I said, man, you know, especially on the waist of the ski, dude, you're tapering down from like a 6-inch nose width down to what, like 3-4 inches maybe on the center, like the waist width, and then tapering back out to the tail. But it definitely comes with its challenges.
You have to worry. Okay, so I know like it is a little complicated, but so obviously there are profiles to snowboards.
Yeah.
People didn't know, but do you have to ever worry about that when you're doing your top sheet? Like if it's gonna warp the top sheet at all?
No, I don't think so. I think the only thing that when designing for like a snowboard, you just have to be aware of the length of the board. So, like we do several models that are, that vary from like length, like the shortest length could be like a 147 and the biggest length could be like a 154. I think like our infinities, like our shortest length is a 158 or 148 and our biggest size is a 154, right? So we're using the same graphic on that whole lineup of those boards, 48, 51s, 54s, whatever's in between, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to make sure that your content is going to be in the same spot on that 148 as it is on that 154.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like the biggest thing to like really kind of pay attention to. And especially if you have such a big variance of sizes when designing is like, your logo, like the Never Summer logo, right? You want it placed here, but say you're building out the 154 graphic, right? And you're not necessarily keeping in mind like, oh, this is, I've got to go on a 48 too, right? So you have your 54 template, you got all your stuff in there, and then you turn on the 148 template and oh crap, all of a sudden your Never Summer logo gets cut off by the side taper of the snowboard because the 148 is going to be a lot narrower than the 154, right? So just like things like that, like small little complications that like I've run into them, like with the Navy SEAL project, we don't build a specific board every year. We kind of just like, oh, well, let's throw it on that model and that size, whatever is like kind of in the production process at that time. So there's been times where I've designed a graphic and it's gotten switched from like maybe a 161 to a 156. And that width, depending on what models they are, dude, is like, it can be such a variance, like where it's either gotten super close or it's kind of cut off a little bit of some important content that you want to have on that snowboard, So that's definitely a big thing to take in consideration, like, especially like, building for various sizes and like other clients and stuff like that, 'cause it's like, you get one shot, man. If you don't notice it in that, in your build and then you go to print, right? You don't necessarily know that that's going to happen until it actually gets built and onto an actual snowboard, right? And then it gets cut out and then you got Sasso coming back there throwing snowboards on the ground, asking us what's going on? Asking like, what's going on, man? Why is this like this? And then you get Jared in your business and, it's, creates kind of a really hectic sort of situation, man. So awareness, man, is huge, not just for my job, but throughout the whole factory, everywhere. Yeah, man. I mean, even in your job, cleaning cassettes, you miss like a chunk of glue, dude, and that gets missed down the line. There you go. There's a giant base dent. Yeah. And that can.
I do my best to fix that stuff because that stuff can like pop up out of absolutely nowhere.
Oh, 100%, dude. 100%.
Fucked for the day.
Dude, we're print graphics, man. Like, we're looking at them, we see them, we cut them, this and that, dude. They get over to the sub side, dude, and like all of a sudden there's like some weird blem that's right there, or like even the material, like. Yeah, we're cutting material all day long, dude, and like maybe 2 or 3 of those sheets that we cut out, man, like have like just this super big scratch that you don't see necessarily until there's color applied, right? Because like the color is going to reflect the light differently than, and we're looking at, as we're cutting the material, we're looking at it, but once we get it in the sublimation press and we put the ink on it, we're pulling that thing out and we're looking at it from, tip to tail. So you see a lot more of those blemishes and stuff like that in that process too. So they're always there, man. But we definitely try to stay as aware as possible. Knock that stuff out. Yeah.
I gotta say, thank you for fucking being here. Thank you for coming, hanging out with us for, I don't know, an hour and a half or whatever.
Yeah, dude, totally.
Hell yeah.
It's been fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I like the questions, dude.
Yeah, dude. I got one question to end it. So I just want to know what it means to be a snowboarder to you.
What does it mean to be a snowboarder?
Yeah.
Well, some people would say I'm not a snowboarder because they don't ever see me at the mountain. Going back to your
what would you say?
Okay.
I do snowboard. What does it mean to be a snowboarder? You know, dude, I think it just means that you want to have fun, that you want to go out and just appreciate being outdoors in like the coldest weather possible sometimes, you know, right? Like the windy days, the sleety days and things like that, dude, but you're still out there and you're trying to have fun. You know what I mean? And you're not necessarily going to let something stop you, you know, like it might be stressful getting to the mountain on those days, you know, and especially in Colorado, right?
On
Now
I-70.
you got to get up. It's like a 3 o'clock, like a 3 a.m. wake up call just to get there by 8, right? Or you leave your house at 9 and get there at 11,
Right.
right? You miss half a day, but you know, you just take on all those challenges, man, whether it's the weather, whether it's the traffic, whatever it is, dude. And you're literally out there to have fun, man, and just enjoy it, whether it's by yourself, whether it's with your homies, whether you're going to make a hike, you know, to go do that backcountry run, whatever it is, dude, just having fun, just enjoying what Mother Nature gives us, you know, in the time that Father Time allows us.
High fives all around.
High five. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I've loosened up on the high fives. I took a gander at your
Oh,
list
dang.
the other day. You told me, you're like, oh, I have a list right here. And I was like, I kind of want to see what this. I didn't read through them all, man. I was like, and I saw you had something written down there about high fives. Yeah. I've loosened up on those, man.
Yeah.
Stomach hands here and there.
Oh,